Part 45. Dressed as a mother-in-law, she leads the whole family to turnover. Author, Bamboo Fence Tea. Chapter 441. Chapter 441. I saw for the first time the sinister nature of people's hearts. Yes, Kui Yudi admitted bravely. A few more ordinary dishes were served next, and then a dish of steamed sea fish was served again. The sea fish was estimated to be about 10 kilograms. If such a big fish was fished out of the sea and brought to the capital, one fish would cost several taels. Kui Yudi observed carefully. The two ladies who just spoke only ate sea cucumbers and sea fish, and left nothing else untouched. Not only them, this was the case for most nobles. After the entire banquet, almost every table had different dishes. There were few leftovers, only a few tables were eaten, and one or two tables were almost untouched and were fine. These are all silver. Kui Yudi was so distressed that she rushed to the back kitchen to settle the score with the cook. The chefs and workers at Yangta restaurant had been busy all day and were extremely tired. As soon as they packed up and were about to leave, they were blocked by Kui Yudi and Cheng Jiaoqiao. The chef knew that Kui Yudi was the mistress of the Cheng family, so he saluted respectfully and asked, "Ms. Cheng, do you have any other instructions?" Kui Yudi asked sternly, "What are my orders?" "I want to ask you. My Cheng family spent so much money to invite your Yangta restaurant to come over to take charge of the wedding banquet. But what kind of dishes did you cook? Even the dogs didn't eat it?" The chef's face suddenly changed and he defended himself again and again. "Ms. Cheng, I have been a cook at Yangta restaurant for more than 10 years, and I have never made any mistakes. These are the dishes that I cook every day, how come the dog doesn't eat them?" Obviously it was Mr. Cheng who confirmed the dishes that day and said there would be no problem. The chef's mind is full of thoughts and speculations. The man saw that the situation was not right, so he hurried back to fetch reinforcements. When Gong Haining rushed to the Cheng mansion, Kui Yudi was setting up a chair in the front yard, sitting arrogantly drinking tea. The chef of Yangta restaurant was detained by her nearby, and the leftovers in the courtyard were not eaten. "Tidy." He stepped forward and bowed with his fists in a neither humble nor condescending manner. "Ms. Cheng, I heard that you are not satisfied with the food cooked by Yangta restaurant today." "Why?" With a sound of bang, Kui Yudi put down the teacup and stood up suddenly. "The dishes are all here. You have your own eyes to see them. Our Cheng family didn't pay you to come to our house to fool the guests." The chef was trembling with fear and cried in grievance, "Young master, the little ones are all cooking according to the usual methods, there is no problem." "I know, don't panic." Gong Haining appeased the chef and began to wander among the tables. He looked at them carefully and asked for chopsticks to try a bite of each dish. He made some guesses in his mind. He put down his chopsticks, smiled jokingly, and asked Kui Yudi, "May I ask Ms. Cheng why she thinks there is something wrong with the food in our Yangta restaurant? Have you asked today's guests or has someone taken the initiative to ask you about it?" "About this matter?" Kui Yudi snorted coldly, "Isn't this obvious? If the food is delicious, why don't the guests eat it? It's obvious that the food cooked by your chef is unpalatable." No, Gong Haining walked to the 3 empty tables. "Then why do these 3 tables have almost no leftovers?" Kui Yudi smiled sarcastically, "Then why didn't the young master talk about the 2 tables where no one was serving chopsticks?" Gong Haining's expression remained unchanged, and he turned to look at the Cheng mansion housekeeper beside him. "May I ask the housekeeper, who are sitting at these 2 tables?" The butler didn't know why, so he replied truthfully, "One of the 2 tables is occupied by the imperial guards escorting the princess's betrothal gift, and the other table is occupied by several high-ranking ministers in the court, including the prime minister, the minister of rights, etc." "What about these 3 tables?" The steward's eyes fell on the 3 empty tables and he said without thinking, "The envoy Wei is sitting at these 3 tables." Gong Haining smiled and said, Thank you, butler, for clarifying my doubts. You can go and do your work. The housekeeper looked at Kui Yudi and saw that Kui Yudi did not keep him, so he honestly withdrew. Gong Haining then lowered his eyes and said, Mrs. Cheng, although I am the young owner of Yangda Restaurant, I am also a scholar with a reputation for raising people. I don't want to go too far with some things. It is better for everyone to be harmonious and make money. Kui Yudi thought she was hallucinating. What did you say? Young master. I came to you to ask you to give me an explanation. I didn't come to listen to your nonsense. I will give you two choices today. First, return it to me. If you give me half of the Cheng family's money, I won't pursue this matter any further. Secondly, if you don't want to refund the money, don't blame me for making the matter bigger and making it impossible for Yangda Restaurant to gain a foothold in the capital. She was so arrogant that even a good-tempered person like Gong Haining was driven out of her anger. He gritted his teeth and said, it seems that the huge Cheng family has degenerated to the point of extorting people's money. Since Mrs. Cheng is so disrespectful of face, what's the point for a man to be afraid? But I, Yangda Restaurant, can't be insulted for no reason. Come on. How dare you? Kui Yudi stared angrily with her eyes wide open. Her original intention was to rely on the princess to get started, use her power to suppress others, and force the other party to submit. Anyway, what she wanted was not all the money, but half. In this way, she would not make the other party jump over the wall and save some of her own losses. Unexpectedly, this person not enough oil and salt. She still needs to report to the official. If she really reports to the official, if today's incident spreads, she will not be able to go out to attend banquets in the future. Gong Haining clasped his fists again. I'm sorry, Mrs. Cheng, people from the government should be on their way here. This matter must be investigated clearly today. I must not let Yangda Restaurant leave any hidden dangers. You need a reasonable explanation again. Isn't this good? Kui Yudi was so angry that she fell down on the Grand Master's chair, clutching her chest. Cheng Jiaojiao saw something was wrong and immediately put her hands on her hips, pointed at Gong Haining and scolded her, how come you, a grown man, are so graceless? You made my mother sick. Gong Haining, This is the first time I have seen the unreasonable appearance of a noble girl. Sure enough, it is true that the ancients said that only women are difficult to raise with villains. Miss Cheng, I can make my own judgment on right and wrong. I won't argue with you. Gong Haining looked indifferent. Cheng Jiaojiao was so angry that she stamped her feet and shouted, come here. Drive this evil person out of here, miss. Several Cheng family servants looked at each other and walked towards Gong Haining hesitantly. Gong Haining's face suddenly darkened. Let's see who dares. Today you are the one who detained me indiscriminately at Yangda Restaurant. Now that the matter has not been resolved, you want to drive me out. Why? Are you considering us easy to bully? Who reported it to the official? Fu Yan came over at this time with 4 official servants. The servants of the Cheng mansion were frightened and quickly retreated. Kui Yudi cursed angrily, useless thing. Gong Haining hurriedly stepped forward and explained the situation carefully. This kind of thing is not a big deal. The governor is usually in peace. What is difficult to deal with is that on one side is the princess's mother-in-law, on the other side is the support of King Xiaoao, and there is a Suanwu cauldron standing there. He is facing no one. Just when the governor was in trouble, someone else came over. What's going on? What's going on? Cheng Dongjiang stumbled out drunkenly and with the help of the housekeeper. He could make many twists and turns while walking, and it looked like he had been pulled out of the bed by someone. Dressed as a mother-in-law, she leads the whole family to turn over. Author, Bamboo Fence Tea. Chapter 442. He came to Gong Haining and looked for a while before he recognized the person in front of him. He warmly stepped forward and pulled Gong Haining's sleeves. Young master. You are here too. Welcome. Let's go. Let's have a drink. Gong Hai smiled softly and said, Mr. Cheng, I don't dare to drink this wedding wine. Ms. Cheng said that our dishes are not to the guests' taste, and she wants our money back. Cheng Dongjiang was stunned for a while, and then suddenly roared at Kui Yudi, how come I don't know about this? What are you doing? Looking for trouble. Kui Yudi was scolded by Cheng Dongjiang in front of so many people, and her face was as dark as the bottom of the pot. Cheng Dongjiang didn't care at all. He turned around and apologized to Gong Haining, young master, don't argue with ignorant old ladies. The wedding banquet you made today was very good. It was excellent. Many people praised it. Kui Yudi was unwilling to give in and retorted loudly, what a fart. How can there be so much left after such a good thing? That's not because you're not willing to give me any money. If you take out a few thousand taels and replace all the dishes with delicacies, including abalone, ginseng, wings, belly, bird's nest, and bear's paw on a plate, do you think everyone will eat it? Cheng Dongjiang took advantage of the wine to make fun of Kui Yudi. Kui Yudi was so angry that she almost rolled her eyes. Cheng Jiaojiao hurriedly shouted, my father is drunk and talking nonsense, why don't you send him back? Don't touch me. Cheng Dongjiang pushed away the two approaching boys and sat down on the ground without moving. Today, I'm going to talk to you about this ignorant shrew. With the storyteller's air on his face, Gong Haining naturally wouldn't leave it alone. He immediately asked his waiter to get some tea for Cheng Dongjiang, and also invited Mr. Fuyin and the officials to stay and listen. His behavior completely angered Kui Yudi. Ah, Cheng Dongjiang, I'll fight you. On the way back to Yangta restaurant, Gong Haining and Fuyin walked halfway together. The governor shook his head and smiled bitterly, you have completely offended Ms. Cheng and Miss Cheng by making such a fuss today. I'm afraid Mr. Cheng will be angry with you tomorrow when he wakes up. Why bother? Gong Haining smiled respectfully, my lord, I would like to remind you, but Ms. Cheng has indeed touched my bottom line today. There will be no good results in entangled with such an unreasonable woman. The best way is to be better than the other party, be ruthless and let the other person know that I am not easy to bully, otherwise there will be endless troubles. I just made inquiries at the Cheng mansion, and it seems that Princess Hui looks down on the Cheng family and does not take Ms. Cheng as a mother-in-law in her eyes. I am afraid that after today, she will not even think about causing trouble for me. The governor was stunned for a moment, then laughed loudly, what you said is very possible. That's all. In that case, I will take the first step and leave it alone. Gong Haining watched Fuyin leave and asked the driver to take him to Su Mansion to find Sun Yuashan. Sun Yuashan is still recovering from his injuries recently and is waiting to go to the Hanlin Academy on the first day of the new year. During this time, he is developing a relationship with Princess Yang Yang. Although the couple lived in different environments since they were young, their talents are common. They recited poems, wrote poems, and painted pictures, and they were able to find a common language. In addition, Princess Yang Yang learned from Zhong Mian and Yang Xiaoa. I heard a lot about Kuzhu Prefecture, and I was able to talk to Sun Yuashan. The relationship between the two is heating up rapidly. When Gong Haining came over, Sun Yuashan was painting Princess Yang Yang. Princess Yang Yang said, how about you go and entertain the guests first, and you can continue the painting tomorrow. Sun Yuashan shook his head seriously, today's work is over, I must draw the princess today. Princess Yang Yang couldn't help laughing, then invite guests to come to the waterside pavilion. Ken. Gong Haining came in and saluted immediately. Princess Yang Yang spoke, her voice was gentle and soft, like the gentle breeze, young master, there is no need to be polite. My consort is painting for me. I can't leave for the time being. You can just pretend that I don't exist. Sun Yuashan took a rare moment to look at Gong Haining and said with a smile, sit down, the princess is not an outsider. If you have anything to say, Just tell her directly. There is no need to hide it. His words were very helpful to Princess Yongyang, and her whole face became brighter and brighter. Gong Haining came here to complain. It would be better if the princess was here. He immediately told the story of what happened in Cheng Mansion vividly. Princess Yanjiang's eyes lit up when she heard this. It's so exciting. Then Mrs. Cheng is making such a fuss, but Mrs. Cheng doesn't care? Princess Wei doesn't care. While Sun Yuashan was painting seriously, he said, Mrs. Cheng is a notoriously difficult shrew in Beijing. I have often heard Santi talk about her. Even Santi hates and avoids people. How dare you, doing her business. Princess, just hold on, I'll paint your eyes first. Princess Yongyang immediately remained motionless, but continued to ask uncontrollably, then what? Then Master Cheng complained to you, and what other messy things did he say about the Cheng family? Seeing Princess Yanjiang's interest, Gong Haining immediately became interested. Mr. Cheng said that Mrs. Cheng pawned valuable things from the courtyard of Mrs. Cheng and several aunts and concubines. She was originally going to raise a betrothal gift for Cheng Hong. Later, the palace after being given a betrothal gift, she did not return the money, but kept it for herself. What a coincidence, this money was just used to buy a wedding banquet. I am so unlucky. Princess Yongyang burst into laughter, completely defeated. Sun Yuashan stood up and put down his pen, shaking his head fondly. I think the princess is really happy now, so let's wait until tomorrow to draw again. Princess Yongyang hurriedly nodded like a chicken pecking at rice. I'll listen to more about the Cheng family. After all, the Suan Wuading is staying at the Cheng family at the moment. When father gets the Suan Wuading, I will definitely take care of your injuries. Justice comes back. Princess Yongyang looked like she was taking action. Sun Yuashan could only laugh helplessly. This was not the first time the princess had said this after the two of them got married. He did not take it to heart. Now it seemed that the princess was very serious. Gong Haining mistakenly believed that Sun Yuashan's injury had something to do with the Cheng family. Thinking of Master Cheng Hong, he began to think on his own, thinking that Cheng Hong was jealous of Sun Yuashan for marrying the more valuable Princess Yongyang and held a grudge against Sun Yuashan. Murderous intention. Everything is reasonable and well-founded. He didn't run away like this. No wonder the emperor didn't pursue it. He had to help Princess Yongyang. So, Gong Haining told Princess Yongyang all the news related to the Cheng family that she knew and didn't know and heard from hearsay. Sun Yuashan was stunned when he heard this. It was the first time he discovered that his best friend was such a badass. As the lanterns come on, the cool night reminds the world that autumn is approaching. Sun Yuashan sent Gong Haining out and returned to the courtyard. He happened to see the maid carrying some clothes and quilts out of the house, so he asked casually, "What are you doing?" The maid hurriedly saluted respectfully and said, "It's cold," so the princess ordered the servant to give the old lady a thick brocade quilt and 2 pairs of freshly made autumn and winter clothes. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Dressed as a mother-in-law, she leads the whole family to turn over. Author, Bamboo Fence Tea. Chapter 443. Chapter 443 Farce on the First Day of Marriage. Go, Sun Yuashan waved his hand and went straight into the house. The woman's charming laughter immediately came from the room. The next day, everyone in the Cheng family, from Mrs. Cheng to the maids and servants, got up early just to see the true face of Princess Wei. After all, this alien princess with the Suan Wei cauldron dowry had been veiled since she entered Beijing. No matter what kind of place he went in, he never took it off. It is said that even the emperor has never seen the true face of Princess Wei. Some people say that she is as beautiful as a fairy, while others say that she is as beautiful as a yaksha. The envoy said to the outside world that Princess Wei is not accustomed to the local environment and will sneeze when she takes off the veil. She must I have been wearing it, but it can be cured if I am not used to it. There are so many imperial doctors in the palace, and it is said that the female folk doctor who cured Princess Ding's hidden illness is also in the capital. With so many miraculous doctors, they can't even cure someone who is acclimatized. Princess Wei has been in the capital for more than a year, and the disease has probably been cured long ago. They must rush to see Princess Wei's appearance as soon as possible. A group of people were waiting around. After drinking 2 cups of tea, no new couple came. Kui Yudi was unhappy and gave Cheng Jiaojiao a look. Go to your eldest brother's yard and have a look. Be smart. As soon as Aunt Sun heard this, she knew what Kui Yudi was planning. She couldn't help curling her lips and said to herself, isn't it just a daughter? It's as if the princess would betray her face. Cheng Jiaojiao took chicken feathers as arrows and led a group of people to Cheng Hong's courtyard. Before entering, she was stopped by Princess Wei's 2 maids. Stop, the princess is not awake yet, don't disturb her. Cheng Jiaojiao frowned, but did not dare to get angry easily, and explained patiently, according to the rules of Qi state, a bride must serve tea to her elders on the first day of her marriage, and then open the ancestral hall and enter the family tree, then she can be considered a real member of her husband's family. The elders of the Cheng family have been waiting in the front yard for a long time. The princess's sister-in-law may not understand, so I came here to remind you. The 2 maids looked at each other, and one of them hesitantly went to knock on the door. Princess, Miss Cheng is here to invite you to serve tea. Why are you making such a fuss? Don't you want to live anymore? Princess Wei cursed angrily. The maid immediately retreated to the door and shrugged towards Cheng Jiaojiao. Miss Cheng, you saw that the princess has a bad temper and there is nothing I can do about it. Cheng Jiaojiao had a dark face, stamped her feet, turned back to the main courtyard, and said a lot of bad things about Princess Wei. The house immediately resounded with the sound of attacking one after another. Princess Wei slept until almost noon before she woke up. The pain all over her body made her angry. She was about to get angry when she realized that there was a man sleeping next to her. She suddenly woke up and quickly picked up the veil next to her and put it on. Then she relaxed. He took a breath, frowned and summoned the maid. What are you guys calling so early in the morning? Princess Wei glared at one of the maids. The maidservant was startled and hurriedly told Cheng Jiaojiao about her arrival. Princess Wei raised her eyebrows and said indifferently, she is just an insignificant young lady. She asked you to deliver the message and you just delivered it? No, it's not true. I'm worried that the princess will miss the chance to start the family tree of the ancestral hall, the maid quickly explained. Princess Wei waved her hand and said, just let them open the ancestral hall and write the family tree directly. I don't want to show up. What about tea? Princess Wei blinked and suddenly smiled. Provide tea? Who dares to ask me to serve tea? This slave has thought too wrong, please punish me, princess. The slave girl shivered with fear. Princess Wei ignored her indifferently. After dressing up, she slowly stood up and said, my consort is hungover. I'll throw her into the pool to sober up. You go and do it. Handmaid did not dare to neglect and went over immediately. Even though she is just a woman, she has a lot of strength. She can carry Cheng Hong out of the yard and throw him into the nearest pool in a few seconds. Kui Yudi just got angry with Cheng Dongjiang in the front yard because Princess Wei didn't give her face. As a result, she didn't wait for her son and daughter-in-law to come over, but waited for the news that the princess refused to show up. How could she bear it? Immediately led a group of people to kill him. As soon as he reached the garden, he heard calls for help coming from the direction of the small pond. Aunt Sun came over and took a closer look, her eyes widened in fear. Oh no, someone has fallen into the water. Help them quickly. Kui Yudi was unhappy, so she also took a look. which almost scared her out of her wits. "Save the young master quickly, damn it, who threw my son into the pool, I will cut her into pieces," Kui Yudi cried while gritting her teeth. Cheng's house is small and there is no pond at all. The pond is only a dozen square meters at most. There are a few koi carp in the corner of the garden. Cheng Hong usually doesn't go here, so there is no way he could slip and fall into the water. Cheng Hong had already drank a lot of water when he was pulled ashore. He was furiously scratching his throat and retching while rolling his eyes. Kui Yudi was anxious and angry. "Son, please call the doctor." Cheng Dongjiang and Mrs. Cheng rushed over and were also startled. After a while, Cheng Hong regained his composure. He pulled the hem of Kui Yudi's skirt and cried loudly, "Mother, you have to make the decision for your son." Princess Wea, that dominatrix, actually asked the maid to throw me away while my son was sleeping. When she entered the pool, she was no longer human. What? Which woman dares to do this to her husband? It's unforgivable. Kui Yudi was so angry that she turned around and rushed towards Cheng Hong's yard. Cheng Dongjiang's expression changed drastically and he hurriedly chased after her. "Madam, don't be impulsive." However, Kui Yudi was so angry that she lost her mind and couldn't hear Cheng Dongjiang's voice at all. She rushed all the way to Princess Wea. Seeing that she was still eating the delicacies leisurely, she stepped forward and swept away all the food on the table. There were a few snaps and the ground was in a mess. Princess Wea couldn't even react. Kui Yudi overturned the table again. This time the maid finally came to her senses and rushed forward to capture Kui Yudi. Cheng Dongjiang came with people and shouted angrily, "What are you doing? Let her go." The maid only looked at Princess Wea. When Kui Yudi saw the reinforcements coming, she immediately shouted to a few boys, "Call more people to come in. Today you will beat up all the women in this yard to my wife. Once the matter is done, I will sell you my body deed." "Madam, don't be impulsive," Cheng Dongjiang stopped him with his eyes widened. However, Kui Yudi couldn't listen at all. "Hurry up. Your deeds of sale are all in my hands, don't you want to be free?" With one word, the servant immediately woke up. One of them went out to fetch someone, while the rest rushed forward and started greeting Princess Wea's maid. Princess Wea was frightened and hurriedly stood up and retreated. "Bold! Insolent! How dare you be so rude to me? I will definitely go to the palace to complain to Emperor Qi, so that your Cheng family will look good." Kui Yudi seemed to have heard a big joke and laughed so hard that tears came out. "Okay. Then you can die with the Cheng family. If you dare to touch my son, I will kill you even if you are an immortal. It's just a princess from a foreign race, who has no manners and no manners, can't even compare to a single finger of a common woman from my Han ethnic group. If it weren't for the Suanwu cauldron, no ghost would marry you. You really treat yourself like a dish, bah." Dressed as a mother-in-law, she leads the whole family to turn over. Author, Bamboo Fence Tea. Chapter 444. You deserve to die. Princess Wea was so angry that her voice changed its tone. However, she brought only 12 maids and wives from the Cheng family, and there were as many as 15 young men and women guarding the Cheng family. How could those of hers be able to fight, and they were all defeated in a short time? These servants are very smart, they only attack maids and women, and they don't dare to touch Princess Wea at all. As soon as Kui Yudi saw that no one dared to step forward, she rushed over regardless. Princess Wea screamed and struggled with Kui Yudi. With just 2 strokes, Kui Yudi pulled off the veil from Princess Wea's face, and everyone in the room saw the so-called princess' true appearance. Before Cheng Dongjiang could react, Cheng Hong's voice suddenly came from beside him, "So she looks like this." Cheng Dongjiang came back to his senses in an instant and glanced at his son beside him speechlessly, with a headache. "Hurry up and pretend to be sick now, otherwise this will be difficult." When 2 women are fighting, he, a grown man, can't step forward to stop the fight, and the servants nearby can't help him. It's really life-threatening. According to the rules of Qi state, a princess who has not married far away must take her consort back to the palace to express gratitude on the first day of her marriage. By the way, the emperor also lets the empress see if the princess is satisfied with her consort after marriage. I think Princess Yongyang returned to the palace on the first day of her marriage. She brought Sun Yuashan into the palace early. She really had no objection to Sun Yuashan and felt a little guilty, so she kept praising Sun Yuashan in front of the empress and asked for many rewards for the Su family. After all, she is the empress, and the empress only has a precious daughter like Princess Yongyang. The reward must be large. Dang Dang's 2 shops in the capital are enough for the Su family to breathe a few breaths, not to mention the ready-made 10,000 taels of silver. Let Yang Santi work with him to do business, money begets money, and the Su family's wealth can be accumulated quickly. Princess Wei's mother's family is outside the customs. Her marriage was granted by Emperor Qi. She also had to bring her consort into the palace on the first day of her wedding to express gratitude. These etiquette officials made it clear yesterday. Princess Wei was hurt by Kui Yudi. She was so angry that she broke down and yelled. She angrily grabbed the stool next to her and threw it at Kui Yudi's head. Cheng Dongjiang shouted in horror, "Princess, please show mercy." With the sound of bang, the messy room was completely silent. The fighting boys, maids, and women all stopped and looked at Kui Yudi, who was lying in a pool of blood. A few breaths later, Cheng Dongjiang roared angrily from the room, "Come here, call the doctor." Cheng Jiaojiao rushed into the room and saw the scene in front of her. She glared at Princess Wei fiercely and asked sternly, "My mother is your mother-in-law, and you are so harsh. Unfilial, unkind, ruthless, and unjust. Such a woman, how can she be worthy of entering my Cheng family? Father, you must let your eldest brother divorce her." "Jiao, don't be ridiculous. This marriage is granted by the emperor, how can we break it off?" Cheng Dongjiang covered his chest regretfully. He thought that marrying a princess would help the Cheng family, but he didn't expect that the family would be allowed to marry. Even more messy. Cheng Jiaojiao didn't take it seriously. She just wanted Princess Wei to be in bad luck. Then go to the palace and ask the emperor to make the decision. Isn't the emperor a wise king? Ordinary families don't want a daughter-in-law like Princess Wei, so why should she give it to our family? Cheng Dongjiang choked. He wanted to say, "Weren't you the one who planned Princess Wei's entrance? Why did it become forced upon the emperor?" But he won't say this in front of everyone, and Princess Wei really needs someone to take care of her. Anyway, Suan Wuading has been married into the Cheng family, and Princess Wei and Wei's envoy cannot take her with her. After leaving, he had to go to the palace to meet the saint. "Okay, then I'll go to the palace as a father." Cheng Dongjiang gritted his teeth and made up his mind. Princess Wei snorted coldly, not afraid at all. Cheng Jiaojiao rolled her eyes and said, "Father, carry mother and eldest brother over, so that everyone can see how Princess Wei abused her mother-in-law." Cheng Dongjiang waved his hand and his servants immediately went to do it. Yesterday morning, the Cheng family held a wedding ceremony and opened the front door to welcome the bride. It has become a topic of conversation among people in the capital after dinner. In the evening, news came out that Mrs. Cheng was cheating on the money for the dinner at Yangta restaurant, which made the Cheng family even more angry. Before everyone could finish digesting yesterday, according to the news, I saw the servants of the Cheng family carrying the dying Mrs. Cheng and the groom into the palace early this morning. Cheng Dongjiang did not let his servants cover him up. Before anyone arrived at the palace, Princess Wei's reputation for killing her husband and mother-in-law had already spread. Kui Mansion. Wang's feet were filled with wind as she walked all the way to Mrs. Kui. "Mother, guess what news is spreading outside today?" Mrs. Kui was not curious at all, but rather annoyed. "What else can there be? It's all the bad things about the Cheng family." "Huh? It's just marrying a foreign princess, it's worth tearing down the door of the Cheng family. Now I'm afraid it's can't close it yet. I want to say that Yudi is also shameful enough. The wedding banquet is over. I am also entangled with the Yangta restaurant Xiao Dongjia. She has taken a lot of money from me over the years. I asked her to buy all the jewelry and clothes. If I really don't have any money, I can just some. Is it still possible to make her die? She heard rumors from outside yesterday, but no one mentioned it in front of her, and she was unwilling to take the initiative to say it. It was so disturbing. Because of the bad things happening in the Cheng family, she couldn't sleep all night long, and the more she thought about it, the more upset she became. Now when Mrs. Wang opened her mouth, she couldn't help but curse. Wang nodded repeatedly, "Mother is right." But Kui Yudi doesn't think so. Those things yesterday are all in the old calendar, and now there is updated news. I heard that this morning Princess Wei was sleeping for some reason. Cheng Hong threw him into the pool and almost drowned. Fortunately, Kui Yudi took someone there and rescued him in time. That was her precious son, how could she bear it? At that moment, he rushed into the yard and fought with Princess Wei. As a result, Princess Wei smashed his head with a stool and fell into a pool of blood. What? Mrs. Kui looked shocked, the cup in her hand shook, she quickly put it down, and asked worriedly, "Are you okay?" Wang shook her head, "These daughters-in-law don't know. They only know that Cheng Dongjiang had someone carry Kui Yudi and Cheng Hong into the palace to ask the emperor to make the decision." Mrs. Kui looked unpredictable. She gritted her teeth and said, "Since the Cheng family is looking for the emperor, let's leave it alone." After all, she was divorced. As a mother, she couldn't ignore it, but she couldn't really take the initiative to contact Kui Yudi. If she did, it would be a slap in the face of the master and his son. Mrs. Mingson happened to hear the news when she came over for dinner. She paused and said, "Mom, sister-in-law, don't meddle in the Cheng family's affairs. Mind your own business and be less angry. That's the way to live forever. It's almost September now, I plan to set off and go back." So fast, Mrs. Kui looked at her eldest daughter reluctantly. Mrs. Mingson comforted, "Mother, I originally came to Beijing for the 3 Iron Imperial examinations, but now he has become a Jinchi and granted an official position. He also recognizes me as his godmother and is filial to me in every possible way. I have nothing to do in the capital for a long time, but the mess in the Ming family can't be let go just yet. I have been out for so long, and my heart must have become agitated. I can't help but go back and beat it. If you continue to be patient, when Jinxia gets married, your daughter will move back to the capital to live in her old age, and she will be by your side every day from now on." End of chapter. Dressed as a mother-in-law, she leads the whole family to turn over. Author, Bamboo Fence Tea. Chapter 445. Chapter 445. Pig brains can be smart sometimes. These words made Mrs. Kui laugh from ear to ear. "Okay, okay. Then I'll wait until you and Jinxia come back." Mrs. Mingson left immediately and went back to pack her things. At the same time, Cheng Dongjiang also led people outside the palace gate. The emperor happened to be dining with Princess Yongyang Sunyuashan in the queen's palace. After receiving the news, he didn't want to see her at all. Princess Yongyang said coquettishly, "Father, just declare it." Cheng Dongjiang has always been cautious, and now there is such a big fight to see him. If you don't see him, how can he ask for the Suanwu cauldron from the Cheng family later? When it came to the Suanwu Ding, the emperor's attitude changed as expected, then just listen to Yongyang, Xian. Princess Yongyang winked at Sun Yan proudly. Sun Yuashan laughed and shook his head at her lovingly, reminding her not to go too far. The little actions of the two fell into the eyes of the queen. Although she had no unnecessary expression, she was happy in her heart. She was unhappy when she chose such a consort with an unknown family background for her daughter, but there was a reason for it. After weighing the pros and cons, she could only do it. She made a decisive choice. Fortunately, Sun Yuashan was a good person, which made up for her regret. Chen Dongjiang bent over and lowered his head, trotted in the door, and knelt down with a plop. I pay my respects to the emperor, long live the emperor. Okay. Why do you want to see me? The emperor's tone was indifferent and he was not angry. Chen Dongjiang's heart trembled, and he said bravely, Your Majesty, Princess Wei threw the consort into the pool early this morning and almost drowned, and then smashed the concubine's head with a wooden stool. The ministers have already carried them to the palace gate. Outside, please ask the emperor to make the decision. What? Then Princess Wei is so lawless. The queen was shocked and looked at the emperor. Your Majesty, do you want Princess Wei to enter the palace? The emperor's face was very ugly, and he tried not to let himself get angry, and told Dekang, go and invite Princess Wei into the palace, and then ask the imperial doctor to take a look at those two people. Dekang went to the Cheng mansion to look for someone, and then he realized that Princess Wei had already run back to the inn to join Wei's envoy. Come on, now Wei's envoy followed her into the palace. Under the treatment of the imperial doctor, Kui Yuti's injuries were under control, but she was dirty all over. The queen asked someone to take her down to change into clean clothes. Cheng Dongjiang and Cheng Hong, who pretended to be sick and woke up, had been kneeling aside, not daring to take a breath. The queen frowned, Your Majesty, Mrs. Cheng is also Princess Wei's mother-in-law. Chi state attaches great importance to filial piety. How could she be so harsh? It's not a life or death feud, it's still an elder. No matter what the reason is, it shouldn't be done. The emperor closed his eyes tiredly, thinking about how to deal with it. After a long time, he slowly opened his eyes, his face was calm, and he already had an idea. Lan Suivendong brought Princess Wei into the palace. As soon as he saw the emperor, he knelt down and admitted his mistake. Emperor Qi, the princess has informed Wei Chen about the matter today. It is indeed the princess who did something wrong. Wei Chen has already told her. The princess also realized her mistake. Princess Wei spoke reluctantly, Wei admits my mistake. The emperor suddenly felt that his breath was holding in his chest and he could not go up or down. He was so angry that he said, since the princess knows that she is wrong, have you thought about how to remedy it? I, the Qi state, govern the world with filial piety, and I am the one who treats the elders and relatives of the royal family. You should be treated with courtesy, and even visit you personally during the holidays. The princess is new here and I don't understand the etiquette of Qi. But I can't condone the fact that the princess broke her mother-in-law's head on the first day of her marriage. If I spare you, none of the officials will spare me. Lan Suivendong immediately begged for mercy, Your Majesty, the princess is indeed ignorant of etiquette, but she also said what happened today. The fault is not hers alone, the main fault is Mrs. Cheng's fault. The emperor had already investigated the matter clearly, and immediately ordered, go. Call the rest of the Cheng family over, and you can talk about anything in front of me. I want to see who is the most outrageous. Today, I will punish you severely. Lone. The emperor clapped his hands, and everyone below was trembling with fear. Even Sun Yoshan couldn't sit still, but was pulled by Princess Yongyang to prevent him from getting up. Kui Yuti was helped over by two palace maids. When she saw Princess Wei, her eyes wanted to eat her. Princess Wei is no less generous. Lan Suivendong was very tired. He originally planned to take the princess to the palace to plead guilty and discuss the territory, but he was made a mess by Princess Wei. The emperor looked at Kui Yuti coldly and asked calmly, Ms. Kui, Princess Wei said that it was you who took action first before she took action today. Is this true? Your Majesty, I was wronged, Kui Yudi knelt there and pointed at Princess Wei accusingly. She was the one who threw the sleeping Hong-er into the pool indiscriminately with the intention of killing her husband. Fortunately, I went to their yard. Hearing noise on the road, he rescued Hong-er, but my son almost drowned. I just wanted to ask the princess for an explanation, but the princess didn't care about Hong-er's life and death, and just drank tea in the house. Dim sum, is it wrong for me to discipline such a daughter-in-law as a mother-in-law? The emperor's face darkened, and he stared at Princess Wei with squinted eyes. What do you think of what Kui said? Princess Wu Ya said angrily. Obviously Cheng Hong was so drunk that he couldn't wake up no matter how much he screamed. He was still smelly. I asked him to put him into the pool to sober up. The pool was not deep, so why did he do it? Can you drown people? Princess also knew that Hong-er was drunk. You asked him to throw him in and then walked away. What if it wasn't murder of her husband? Kui Yudi burst into tears. This time the emperor stood up to Kui Yudi and said, what Kui said is true. Princess Wei is wrong. Lan Suivendong's heart sank, and he hurriedly said, Your Majesty, the servant who served the princess must have failed to do his best and ran away privately. The princess had no intention of killing her husband, and she would never dare to do so. The emperor snorted coldly and looked at the other party involved. Cheng Hong, what do you say? Cheng Hong has been out of state since he left home in the morning. No one cares about him, but he has been given a long time to think. When the emperor asked at this time, he immediately said without thinking, Your Majesty, Princess Wei must have a dirty secret, and she must have killed me to silence her because of this. What nonsense are you talking about? Princess Wei was so angry that she clenched her fists tightly and wanted to glare at him. Cheng Hong shrank in the direction of Kui Yudi in fear, and swallowed hard. What I said is true. I have been feeling strange since yesterday. The princess married me unwillingly, so she could have asked the emperor refused to marry and return to the outside world. You are a princess and can remarry when you return to the tribe. The reputation here will not affect the outside world. But you are married, but you are looking for trouble everywhere. From yesterday when you opened the door to killing me and my mother this morning, you must have been planning to kill our whole family and live a prosperous life in the capital by yourself. But I really can't figure out why the princess would rather stay in the capital and be a widow than go back to the Wei tribe. Until today, I finally guessed the reason after seeing her face under the veil. As soon as these words came out, everyone's expressions changed. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Dressed as a mother-in-law, she leads the whole family to turn over. Author, Bamboo Fence Tea. Chapter 446. Chapter 446 The True Face of Mount Lu. Lan Suivendong was very nervous and shouted inwardly, Cheng Hong. You actually slandered our princess. Even if you die 10,000 times, it won't be an exaggeration. The emperor didn't take Cheng Hong's words to heart. When he saw Lan Suivendong's overreaction, he felt that the wine bag and rice bag had guessed the truth by mistake. He touched his chin in deep thought and looked at Princess Wei, who was wearing a veil. The queen immediately understood what the emperor meant and subconsciously looked at Princess Yongyang. Princess Yongyang understood, stood up, walked a few steps forward, and smiled at Princess Wei. Princess Wei, can you take off your veil and let me have a look? Princess Wei subconsciously touched her face and looked at Princess Yongyang warily. Why should I show it to you? That Cheng Hong is just a sensual second-generation ancestor, can you listen to what he says? Cheng Hong retorted weakly, I don't want to make progress, but I have stayed in Huajialixiang for so long, and I know women better than anyone else, let alone the fact that we have a physical relationship. I don't know what you are like. You. Cheng Hong, I'm going to kill you. Princess Wei became so angry that she couldn't bear it anymore. Princess Yongyang hurriedly spoke out, "Don't be angry, Princess Wei, Cheng Hong. Then tell me, what is Princess Wei like?" "How dare you," Princess Wei threatened Cheng Hong with her eyes. Cheng Hong was completely afraid of Princess Wu Ya after being so frightened this morning. At this time, all he could think about was how to get rid of this dominatrix. He had no other thoughts at all. When he heard this, he immediately said loudly, "She is not at all a foreign woman, has the face of a Han woman. She is not as good as the maid from Guang'an Marquis who looks like a princess from outside the country. Also, her skin and bones are the same as those of Han women. Unless King Wei is Han, she is the fake Princess Wei." As soon as these words came out, not only the emperor, but also Kui Yudi and others were confused. Cheng Dongjiang knelt down with sweat profusely. "Your Majesty, Shuzi drank too much and talked nonsense. Please forgive me." "Father, I was right, she is a Han woman," Cheng Hong insisted on his opinion. Cheng Dongjiang was so angry that he rolled his eyes. "Shut up. That's enough," the emperor scolded, interrupting their quarrel, and looked at Princess Wei. "Princess Wei, in order to prove your innocence, please take off your veil and let everyone see your true face. In addition, I know that some people in the capital have also seen people from outside the customs, and summoned them all into the palace." Dekang asked hesitantly, "Your Majesty, are you referring to His Highness Prince Ding?" "Not only him, there are also several generals who went to the capital outside the customs with King Ding, as well as Yang Changsong, inspector of the Ministry of Revenue. I remember that he went to do business outside the customs and also came into contact with foreigners outside the customs." The emperor still saw Princess Yongyang. Only then did Dai Yutu's face think of Yang Santi. These people were all on duty today. As soon as the emperor summoned them, they all rushed over as quickly as possible. This is the first time that Yang Santi has been in such close contact with the emperor since he was appointed an official. After saluting, the emperor asked them to stand in a row, pointed at Princess Wei, and said, "My dear friends, I have a task for you today." Cheng Hong accused Princess Wei of having a different identity and that she is a Han woman. "You have all seen women from outside the customs. Let's take a look and tell me who is deceiving the emperor." Lan Suivendong stopped in front of Princess Wei in panic and surrendered to the emperor. "Your Majesty, you don't know something. The reason why the princess has been living outside since she was a child is because of her biological mother, because her biological mother is Han, and she looks like her mother, so she is rejected by her tribe. She has gone through many ups and downs, and it is also because of this that she would rather stay in the capital than go back." It is not at all what Cheng Hong speculated. "Your behavior is just adding salt to the wounds of our princess." Prince Ding folded his hands and frowned displeased. "Lan Sui Wendong, what have you said so much has to do with the princess taking off her veil? No matter what Princess Wei's life experience is, you are so secretive, which makes people more suspicious. Ching ching, those who become pure will become pure themselves, and those who become turbid will become turbid. As long as there are no ghosts in your heart, why not stand up openly and let everyone take a look? With the emperor and queen here, can there be any bad remarks against Princess Wei? To take a step back, she is now the wife of the Cheng family, the Cheng family. Can you protect her for a while, or for the rest of her life? There must be an explanation for what happened today, otherwise how could she continue to gain a foothold in the Cheng family? Then don't stay at Cheng's house, we'll take him away." Lan Suivendong felt like breaking the pot. King Ding smiled. "Lan Sui Wendong, do you know what you are talking about? Princess Wei has married into the Cheng family, that is, the Cheng family. Now the fault is hers. As long as the Cheng family doesn't let her go, you can't take her away. If you want to use force to do something that hurts people's lives, I'm afraid you won't even be able to leave the capital." "Prince Ding. Are you threatening me?" Lan Suivendong narrowed his eyes, extremely angry. King Ding shook his head, sighed, and smiled. I'm just discussing things with you. This is Chi state. We don't use power to bully others. Everything is just reasonable. Now we are reasoning, please cooperate. Wang Ding had a tough attitude and pressed forward step by step. Lan Suivendong can only regress no matter how much he hates him. When he walked out of Princess Wei knew that no one could help her anymore. At this time, she began to regret that she shouldn't have acted so quickly in the morning against Cheng Hong and the dead old woman. Now she has no way out. He could only bite his lips and take off the veil under the gaze of everyone. Under the veil is a fair face with fingernails scratching across it. She looks like a Han woman. Her facial features are fairly delicate, but her eyesight is not good at all, and is full of negative emotions. Several generals immediately muttered, she is really a Han woman. Isn't this King Wei cuckolded? They wanted to suspect that King Wei randomly found a woman to pretend to be Princess Wei, but if it was really an impersonation, Lan Suivendong and his party would know that they had followed Princess Wei since they entered the capital. Princess Wei wanted to see the clouds in the sky. They don't dare to pick the stars in the sky. Being so respectful is definitely not the kind of treatment that a fake can get. Furthermore, Princess Wei has an arrogant temperament and acts without scruples. She is obviously dependent on someone and is spoiled. Who else can give her this confidence except King Wei? King Ding looked at Princess Wei's face, and out of the corner of his eye he caught sight of Yang Santi, who had empty eyes. He bumped him with his elbow and whispered, I'm back. Yang Santi came to his senses, and when he saw King Ding's teasing eyes, he was surprised. He suddenly turned back to look at Sun Yuashan. Seeing his dull look, he knew that the two of them wanted to go together. Princess Yang frowned and pulled Sun Yuashan unhappily, is she as good looking as me? Sun Yuashan lowered his eyes and shook his head, the princess is a real golden branch, no one can compare to her. Princess Yang smiled with satisfaction and sat down, then why are you looking at her in a trance? Sun Yuashan suddenly pulled Princess Yang's arm tightly. Dressed as a mother-in-law, she leads the whole family to turn over. Author, Bamboo Fence Tea. Chapter 447. Chapter 447, I know Princess Wei. As his pillow, Princess Yang knew that this was a reaction to Sun Yuashan's mood swings, and she was very worried. What's wrong with you? Sun Yuashan shook his head at her, his eyes suddenly became a little sharper, he shot at Princess Wei and shouted, Zhao Yue Jiao. Princess Wei suddenly raised her head and looked at Sunyo Mountain, the shock and panic in her eyes not being covered up in time. Lan Sui Wendong and Lan Sui Venhan paled even more, staring at Sunyo Mountain with eager eyes. The emperor frowned in confusion, tilted his head, and cast doubtful eyes on Sun Yuashan. Consort, what did you shout just now? Sun Yuashan stood up, bowed respectfully to the emperor, and said, for the record, my father-in-law, my son-in-law once saw a woman who looked exactly like Princess Wei when he was in Ping'an County, Kuzhu Prefecture. At that time, my son-in-law's family was very favored. We were invited to a banquet and met the woman outside Guanginho's house. She was unruly and rude. She not only insulted my son-in-law, but also tried to attack us. Fortunately, Guanginho came to our rescue. Oh! What is the origin of the woman you are talking about? The emperor's face was pale, and it was hard to tell what he was thinking. However, the more he looked like this, the more uncertain Wu Yu's envoy felt. People are similar, what's the fuss about it? Lan Suivendong was the first to argue. Sun Yuashan was unmoved, lowered his eyes and replied, the woman's name is Zhao Yue Jiao, she is the daughter of Zhao Li, member of the Zhao family in Ping'an County. After the Yang family gained power, the Zhao family wanted to marry the Yang family, but Guanginho fell in love with she. Sister, the marriage was decided early, and the Zhao family had no chance. Zhao Li turned to his son-in-law again and wanted to marry his daughter to his son-in-law. The son-in-law would absolutely not accept such a wicked daughter, but we were weak and could not afford to offend her. Later, in order to reject the marriage, my mother still suffered from freezing and stayed in bed for more than a month. That's unreasonable. This was the first time Princess Yongyang heard these things, and her eyes were red with anger. The queen gave her a wink and asked her to sit down quietly. Yang Santi also stood up and saluted, "Your Majesty, I can testify on behalf of the consort that everything the consort said is true. There are many local insiders who know these things, and Princess Wei's appearance is indeed exactly the same as Zhao Yuejiao's. Height, talking and doing things, they all look like the same person." After hearing this, the emperor was silent for a long time and then slowly spoke, "Come here, Xian Guanzhenho's family and MRSU are entering the palace. Today I will find out everything about this matter, so all my dear friends, don't worry. No one present can rest assured." Princess Wei and Envoy Wei exchanged nervous glances with each other. They hesitated to speak, and in the end there was only silence. The Cheng family was dumbfounded. They had spent so much effort and clamored everywhere that Cheng Hong wanted Princess Shang, but in the end, the princess was married, but it was very likely that she was a fake. What's even more unacceptable is that this fake princess almost killed 2 members of the Cheng family on the first day of her marriage. Cheng Hong was so angry that he was trembling and almost fainted. Not to mention Kui Yudi. She was dizzy when her head was broken, but now she would have fallen headlong if it weren't for the help of the palace maid. Cheng Hong secretly prayed that Princess Wei was fake. Only in this way could he have a chance to survive. As for the fate of the consort that he had boasted about before, go to in front of Xiaoming. Zhang Ning led a group of people into the palace. The emperor's eyes lit up when he saw her, and he asked with excitement, "Guang Inho, do you know this girl?" The sent to find Zhang Ning did not explain the reason. At this moment, the emperor pointed out. He was not sure, so Zhang Ning immediately looked over and muttered after just one glance, "It seems familiar, but for a while, I can't remember where I saw it." Sun Yan beside Zhang Ning said excitedly, "Auntie, she is Zhao Yuejiao, have you forgotten?" Zhang Ning suddenly realized, "It's her. No wonder I always feel familiar. That's right. It's Zhao Yuejiao. Your Majesty, I remembered it, she is Zhao Yuejiao." Princess Wei bit her lip and defended, "I'm not Zhao Yuejiao. I'm the princess of the Wei tribe." "Princess? Are you Princess Wei?" Zhang Ning's tone was full of doubt and disbelief. Lan Suivendong stood up and said, "Guang Inho, you can't just talk nonsense just because we had some personal grudges before." "What's the grudge between us?" Zhang Ning looked confused. That look of seeking knowledge made the emperor couldn't help but want to laugh. He cleared his throat and said, "Guang Inho, are you sure she is Zhao Yuejiao?" Zhang Ning paused, nodded heavily, and said seriously, "With similar appearance, it may not mean that they are the same person, but they have exactly the same appearance, body shape, height, speaking tone, and behavioral style. If these are the same, then they are the same person. Personally, after all, Zhao Yuejiao is a country squire. How can she be worthy of Princess Wei's imitation? The only possible explanation is that she is Zhao Yuejiao. Certainly. These are just the basis for my judgment. It is the eyes that make me sure of her identity. Zhao Yuejiao always looked down on me, but she was also jealous of me. Because he repeatedly ruined her good deeds, she even regarded me as a thorn in her flesh. Just now I could see the deep malice in her eyes. If we hadn't had a grudge before, how could she be so dismissive of me? If she is really Princess Wei, there is no intersection between us. We are just strangers at most, right?" King Ding nodded in agreement. "Father, I also think Guang Inho's words are reasonable, but how can we verify her identity?" The emperor's eyes wandered around the people of the Wei tribe, and finally his eyes fell on Lan Sui Wendong. Sir Lan Sui, if you have anything to say, don't be tough with me, and provide evidence to convince others. Otherwise, I will immediately send troops to destroy the entire Wei tribe. How can ordinary people bear the wrath of thunder? Not to mention that Lan Sui Wendong and his party still had something in their minds, and a group of people knelt down and begged for mercy. Your Majesty clearly knows that the princess has been wandering away since she was a child. Our king personally sent people to find her. It was also the king who personally handed her into the hands of the ministers. He also repeatedly asked the ministers to take good care of the princess. As for what they said, I really don't know. Zhao Yu Jiaochen, Lan Sui Wendong wanted to swear on his life. The emperor was very unhappy and said with a drooped face, in this case, we can only invite King Wei and the Zhao family to come to the capital. Lord Lan Sui, before the identity of Princess Wei is clear, I didn't agree to any of the requests you made, including the Suanwei cauldron. In a rare moment of cleverness, Cheng Dongjiang immediately said, Your Majesty, the Cheng family's place is too small, and there is no room to even accommodate the Suanwei cauldron. If the weather is good these 2 days, let's put it in the yard for the time being. Wait for the weather to change in a few days, it's not good. Please ask the emperor to bring the Suanwei Ding into the palace for storage. The emperor's face looked better. The Suanwei Ding is precious, and I also think so. Don't worry, Lord Lan Sui, as long as the princess's identity is confirmed, I will return the Suanwei Ding to her, but if you dare to deceive the emperor. Dressed as a mother-in-law, she leads the whole family to turn over. Author, Bamboo Fence Tea. Chapter 448. Chapter 448 Zhongning Identification. Princess Wei trembled almost imperceptibly, but pretended to be firm and motionless. Because the matter has to wait for King Wei and the Zhao family to come to Beijing to resolve it, it can only be put on hold temporarily. Until the truth comes out, Princess Wei and Wei envoys are not allowed to leave the capital, and there are soldiers sent by the emperor to keep an eye on it. After the Cheng family and Wei envoys retreated, the atmosphere in the palace suddenly became much more relaxed. Zhongning was about to retire when the emperor asked unhurriedly, Marquis Guanjin, are you really sure she is Zhao Yuejiao? Zhongning nodded slightly. Zhao Yuejiao's arrogance is rare. She is also a young lady raised by a wealthy family, but she is vulgar and unruly. She has nothing to do with the elegance and wisdom that a woman should have. She has no moral bottom line in her heart and is ignorant and fearless. Who don't even take it seriously. Over the years, I have met many officials and ladies from aristocratic families, and there is another one who is somewhat similar to her, that is Cheng Jiaoqiao, Miss Cheng Jiaoqiao, but even if Cheng Jiaoqiao is shameless, she has grown up in the capital and knows who she can and cannot mess with. She is capable of bending and stretching, and has some brains, but Zhao Yuejiao has none of it. I still don't understand who gave her the courage and confidence to make her arrogant. After speaking, her eyes suddenly opened wide and her voice got stuck in her throat. King Ding was the first to notice something was wrong and asked, what did the Marquis remember? Zhongning slowly lowered his eyes and hesitated for a long time before saying, I have a sister-in-law who later broke off the relationship. She sold herself to the queen and worked as a slave in the Zhao family for several years. Later she left the Zhao family for unknown reasons. After several twists and turns, he lived in a foreign land and lived in poverty. Because he saved Mrs. Ming-san, he was taken back by Mrs. Ming-san. Later, he was killed for protecting his daughter. Before her death, she confessed to her and asked her to be careful about Zhao Li. Zhao Li was Zhao Yuejiao's biological father and a well-known philanthropist in Ping'an County. Even Mr. Xie, who had previously served as the magistrate of Ping'an County, had a good impression of him. He is a living in the hearts of the people of Ping'an County, so I have always been unable to understand my sister-in-law's warning before she died. Now that I talked about it with the emperor, Zhao Jiaqin suddenly remembered it. The queen shook her head and said slowly, "You are a smart person, why are you confused about this matter? Then if Zhao Li is so good, how could he raise such a daughter? No matter how pampered a girl is, ordinary people will not pamper her. In this case, there is something wrong with this person." The emperor also agreed with the queen's statement. It seems that the reason will not be known until someone enters the capital. Please step back for the time being. Yes, everyone bowed and left silently, without even a single comment along the way. Cheng family. The carriage in the palace pulled Cheng Dongjiang, his party, and Princess Wei back. Aunt's son supported Mrs. Cheng and waited eagerly at the door. Next to her was Cheng Jiaoqiao, who was in her own way. Seeing the carriage approaching, the group of people rushed out immediately. Cheng Dongjiang got out of the carriage tiredly and stopped Mrs. Cheng's words, "Mother, let's talk after we get in." Mrs. Cheng looked at the passers-by on the street, and finally held back and let Aunt's son help her back to Yishao Hall. Cheng Dongjiang, Kui Yudi, and Cheng Hong, Cheng Jiaojiao also arrived at Yishao Hall, and Princess Wei took the servants back to the courtyard. Everyone's faces don't look good. Mrs. Cheng was the first to get angry at Kui Yudi. "It's all your fault. You have to let your son marry a princess. Look what kind of thing he is marrying. You two almost fell into her hands. You are ignorant and stupid. Woman. Can you blame me? Is this what I want?" Kui Yudi shouted loudly. "It was obviously your grandson who let the news out. Your granddaughter wanted to have a princess sister-in-law, but the two brothers and sisters kept everything quiet. Forget it, what can I do? At the end of the day, it's not your Cheng family that can't do it. If the Cheng family is stubborn, we don't have to look at people's faces everywhere. We go to Kui's house every now and then to fight against the autumn wind, which annoys my mother and others, and they even cut off relations with me. Which time did we get benefits from outside and the government did not benefit from it? This time, the two children also hope that the Cheng family will go further. Who knows whether Princess Wei is an impostor or a savage impostor with no rules? What kind of counterfeit?" Mrs. Cheng couldn't believe what she heard, and subconsciously looked at Aunt's son. Aunt's son was even more shocked than she was, and she jumped up. "So my sister spent nearly 800 taels to marry the eldest young master to a fake princess, and also destroyed our front door. Not to mention the gate." Mrs. Cheng felt that she was about to pass through it again. "Unfortunate for our family, unfortunate for our family. Oh my God! What kind of gods have our family offended? Why did we encounter such a fatal situation? It's bad luck, woo woo woo. Mother, stop crying. You cry and I have a headache." Cheng Dongjiang rubbed his temples and kept thinking about everything that happened in the palace today. The more he thought about it, the more he felt that Princess Wu Ya was the Zhao Yue Jiao that Guang Inho said. He opened his eyes suddenly and looked at Cheng Hong. Cheng Hong swallowed his saliva in fear. "Father, father." Cheng Dongjiang sighed in disappointment, reluctantly cheered up, and lowered his voice. "You and Princess Wei are husband and wife, and they will live under the same roof in the future. During this period, you first submit to her, please her, and let her relax, be cautious, and then take the opportunity to find out more about her, such as whether there is anything suspicious around her, and so on." "Father, I can't do it. Look at that dominatrix. I didn't provoke her, but she could have someone throw me into the pool. What if she stabbed me while I was sleeping? No, no, I'm not going back." Cheng Hong shook his head like a rattle. Kui Yudi immediately protected him. "Hong is right, she is a crazy woman and cannot be treated as a normal person at all. My son cannot take risks." Although Mrs. Cheng didn't like Cheng Hong was also her eldest grandson. She also felt that it was too dangerous and immediately advised, "Forget it, think of other ways. No one dares to provoke that evil god." Cheng Dongjiang sighed, "Mom, I don't want to, but we have to make meritorious deeds. Now that Princess Wei has entered our Cheng family, if she is true or false, she will be accused of deceiving the emperor in the future. It hurts our family. If we find evidence to prove her identity before the emperor finds out the truth, and make meritorious deeds, the emperor might even be lenient and spare our whole family. Kui Yudi had a sullen face and said angrily, "You still said. If you hadn't just given the Suan Wuading directly to the emperor, we could have exchanged the Suan Wuading for a lot of benefits." Cheng Dongjiang looked at Kui Yudi as if he were an idiot. "Do you have any brains? The Cheng family is about to be in disaster and you still want to exchange the Suan Wuading for benefits? What benefits? Let the emperor steal our whole family and get the Suan Wuading." You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Dressed as a mother-in-law, she leads the whole family to turn over. Author, Bamboo Fence Tea. Chapter 449. Chapter 449. Even the Suanwu cauldron is fake. Kui Yudi was stunned, and quickly grabbed Cheng Dongjiang's sleeve. "Why does the emperor have a house raid? This marriage was granted by the emperor, and we are also victims, so why? Just because you planned that scene at the palace banquet on New Year's Eve. That's the palace, not your own backyard. The things you did can't be hidden from anyone but the emperor. I'm afraid that the emperor is also annoyed by Princess Wei, so he turns a blind eye. I'll let you succeed by closing one eye, but that doesn't mean the emperor won't settle the scores. Be wise, you should find out the emperor's thoughts and share your worries in advance. Maybe the emperor can still remember the old feelings and forgive us. You still want to get benefits from the emperor. Ill." Cheng Dongjiang didn't want to say so much in front of the long-haired and short-sighted housewife, but things at home were getting bigger and bigger. If things continued like this, he was afraid that the whole family would be buried with them, so he had to say a few more words. Kui Yudi was stunned for a moment after hearing this. Cheng Jiao beside her said weakly, "Father, we didn't do anything." "You still want to quibble?" Cheng Dongjiang snapped. Cheng Jiao wilted immediately. This side of the inn. Lan Suivendong led a group of people into the courtyard and immediately closed the door to block the prying eyes of those outside. "Brother, what should we do now? Princess, is she really a fake? Your Majesty is trying to trick us to death." Lan Suivenhan kicked over his stool in anger. Lan Suivendong said coldly, "Calm down, we have no enmity with the king. Why does he bother to deceive us so much? That's right. The king also pointed out that we wanted a piece of territory for the Wei tribe, so how could we do such a thing?" But Guanzhenho said it with certainty, and the princess was very hostile to Beiwilo when she entered the capital. To say that they are not, yes, I don't believe it at all. I think the princess is most likely the Zhao Yuejiao mentioned by Guanginho, but I don't know if she is the king's daughter. Lan Suivenhan frowned. Lan Suivendong was calm. "What are you afraid of? We have the Suan Wuading, and the princess was handed over to us by the king himself. As long as the king recognizes the princess will be the princess, and Emperor Qi can't do anything to us." "That's true." Lan Suivenhan felt relieved again. Inside the palace, the emperor has been waiting for news from Wei Guangxian. The Suanwu cauldron is a big thing. It was very difficult to get it from the Cheng family to the palace. It was not until dusk that the items were delivered. The emperor was very happy and ordered the Suan Wuading to be sent to join the other 3 tripods. Prime Minister Sun and other court officials also entered the palace at this time, vying to catch a glimpse of the Suan Wuading as soon as possible. More than a dozen guardsmen stepped forward, and Wei Guangxian shouted, "Lift it up." Everyone worked together to lift the Suanwu cauldron off the ox cart. When the cauldron fell to the ground, it made a crisp and muffled sound. The emperor raised his hand, opened the red silk. The imperial guards peeled off the red silk, revealing the true appearance of the Suan Wuading. The huge cauldron was engraved with the Suanwu and the three striking characters Suanwu Ding, neatly aligned with the other three cauldrons. The civil and military officials were so excited that they knelt down suddenly and shouted, "Long live the emperor! Ha 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 ha, I finally get to see the 4 tripods return to the palace in my lifetime, ha 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 ha," the emperor laughed. At this time, a bolt of lightning flashed across the sky. Dekang hurried forward and said, "Your Majesty, it looks like it's going to rain. Please move inside the palace to take shelter from the rain." The emperor nodded, looked around, and pointed to Taishi Ling Kui Guang, "You arrange for people to stay here and observe for 12 hours. We will see the situation tomorrow. If the rain stops, arrange for people to carefully inspect the Suanwu Ding. See if there is any damage." "Old minister, I understand." Kui Guang respectfully watched the emperor leave. They began to summon people from the Kintian prison to come over and work. It was about to rain, so they couldn't do much, but they could still simply check and clean up. A group of people were busy working, and it took 2/4 of an hour for the rain to fall, pattering on the 4 tripods. Kui Guang stopped for a moment, turned around and sat down, staring at the 4 tripods. In the early morning, the sleeping emperor was woken up by a panicked cry, "Your Majesty, this is bad, something happened." "What's the fuss about?" The emperor opened his eyes in displeasure and quickly got out of bed. Dekang pointed to the direction where the Suanwu cauldron was placed. "There's something going on over there, Mr. Kui." The emperor didn't bother to wash up and rushed over with his people. In the hall, a group of people from Kintian prison knelt on the ground. The emperor asked with a gloomy face, "Tell me. What happened?" Kui Guangzhan stood up tremblingly, hunched over, "Your Majesty, you come with me." The emperor and Kui Guang walked towards the 4 tripods together. Kui Guang asked someone to set up a high stool and said, "Your Majesty, just take a look." The emperor climbed up seriously, but at first glance he couldn't see anything wrong. Kui Guang had to explain, "Before it rained last night, I asked others to quickly clean the Suanwu Ding. The Suanwu Ding itself is very clean. The so-called cleaning is just wiping off the dust on the surface. The Suanwu Ding is better than the original recovery. The Qinglong cauldron is still clean, but you see, no one interfered with the rain that night, and the cauldron was filled with accumulated water. The water in the other 3 cauldrons was as clear as a mirror, without any turbidity. Look at the Suanwu tripod again. There are many impurities in it, including sand and gravel deposits, and it is not translucent enough. The 4 tripods are filled with water, and you can immediately tell that the material of the Suanwu tripod is different from the other 3 tripods." The emperor subconsciously narrowed his eyes and got down from the high stool after a while, "So the Suanwu Ding is also fake." The emperor was so angry that he laid his corpse thousands of miles away. Lan Suivendong and others were rudely escorted into the palace from the post station before they knew what was going on. They struggled and cursed all the way until they were led to the Suanwu cauldron. The emperor's stern face was like 1,000-year-old ice, staring at a group of them. "Now, who will tell me where the real Suanwu Ding went?" Lan Suivendong's pupils shrank. He looked at the big cauldron beside him in disbelief, and shouted, "This is the genuine Suanwu cauldron." The emperor took a deep breath and roared fiercely, "Lan Suivendong! I've had it checked. It's completely fake. It's a counterfeit. You can make the fake look just like the real thing, and you still say you don't know the real thing. Where is the Suanwu cauldron? Are you thinking that I won't kill you?" Lan Suivendong fell to the ground with weak legs, eyes wide open, "Your Majesty! Your Majesty! We really don't know. Both the Suanwu Ding and Princess Hui were given to us by the king. Our mission is only to the Suanwu Ding. I will go to Beijing to get married, and then sign an agreement with you, that's all." He was really anxious now. He had not calculated that the Suanwu cauldron was fake. Could it be that King Hui was crazy and wanted to kill the entire Hui tribe? His mind was spinning all over the place, and he couldn't figure it out no matter how he thought about it. The more he thought about it, the more confused he became. Seeing his anxious look, the emperor generally believed that he didn't know anything about it, but he became more and more angry and said angrily, "Come here. Go and take Princess Wei into the palace for me to interrogate carefully. I want to know the whereabouts of the real Suan Wu Ding. Also, given Wang Chuangzhen told King Ding to capture King Wei alive. If you dare to tease me like this, I will never give you mercy." Dressed as a mother-in-law, she leads the whole family to turn over. Author, Bamboo Fence Tea. Chapter 450. Chapter 450 Breaking News. Early in the morning, several imperial edicts were issued in the palace. Several soldiers rode across Suzaku Street and quickly left the city. There was something wrong with their posture. Many people started to ask around, but no news came out. Lu Ye took the maid back home with the food box and told Zhang Ning and others about the matter. "Auntie, the Suanwu cauldron was just brought into the palace yesterday. It's strange that there was such a big commotion in the palace this morning," Lu Ye asked in confusion while serving dishes. "According to the rules of the capital, you can only ride on the street unless there is an emergency at the border or something serious happens, and you must give orders to let the soldiers clear the way." Zhang Ning leisurely took a mouthful of pork and water chestnut eggs and fed it to his grandson Yang Lejing's mouth. The little guy was so proud that he opened his mouth wide and bit off half of the egg in one bite, making Zhang Ning giggle with joy. "There is nothing surprising. I have told you what happened yesterday. The fake Princess Wei must be Zhao Yuejiao. She is the only one who has a grudge against our family and did something against Beiwolo. Now her identity has been revealed. Envoy Wei has also been controlled by the emperor. All your previous worries have been solved, and we can't get involved in other major matters, so there is no need to be curious." Zhang Ning spoke slowly, word by word, hoping that everyone else would listen. Lu Ye nodded obediently. "I understand, Auntie." Zhang Ning smiled at her, very satisfied with the eldest daughter-in-law's understanding, turned to look at her eldest grandson Yang Legzu, who was like a little adult, and said dotingly, "Su'er, do you understand what Grandma told you last night?" "Su'er understands." Yang Legzu put down his chopsticks and replied respectfully without a smile. That look made several women unable to help but smile. Zhang Ning nodded, "Okay. Then you go back and write a sentiment for Grandma today. Think about it carefully and think about it carefully. You can't ask adults. Grandma wants to see how smart our Su'er is. Grandma, don't worry. Su'er promises to complete the task. Su'er has eaten enough and will go to school first. Grandma, aunt, brother, and sister, please use it slowly." The little guy said hello one by one before leaving in a polite manner. Sun Yan praised, "Auntie, Su'er is really good at learning the rules and etiquette." Zhang Ning smiled and said, "After all, he is the eldest grandson of the eldest son. If he is going to provoke the entire Yang family in the future, he must be good at everything." Privately, she also felt that the child was too tired, but she had no position to interfere with Yang Datu and Liu's godson. They put all their hopes on the child and did not understand her forward thinking. She did not want to be regarded as an alternative. You can guide your children to broaden their minds as much as possible, and take them around to relax when you have time. Sun Yan nodded repeatedly, "That's right. Yuxuer sets an example for the younger brothers and sisters in the front, and the few brats below will be easier to manage in the future. The second younger brother and sister are joking, don't praise him in front of him and make him feel happy." Lu Ye was so happy that she smiled from ear to ear. Sun Yan inquired again, "Sister-in-law, what kind of husband did you find for Su'er? Why do I think this child is really well educated?" Lu Ye paused and said, "Su'er's husband was recommended by the prince. His name is Shi Mu. He is a very talented scholar and seems to have some skills. He is indifferent to fame and wealth and does not like the disputes in the court. He passed the imperial examination and was elected no more exams. Anyway, his family is well off and he has no worries about food and clothing. He spends his days reading, painting, reciting poems, and writing poems, and he is also good at wine. Originally, he didn't plan to take Su'er in, but he made an exception after knowing that Baywalo belonged to our family. Usually, many well-known scholars in the capital come to see Mr. Shi for tea, drinks, and talk. The prince also comes over occasionally. Shwe'er can often get advice from other gentlemen, so she naturally learns more. That's it, a promise means everything. Zhang Ning frowned slightly. Why don't I know about this? Lu Ye quickly explained, my mother-in-law was not in the capital at that time, and my daughter-in-law wanted to write a letter to tell you, but the prince came and heard it. He said that Kuzhu prefecture there is a lot of chaos over there. My mother-in-law is busy with all kinds of things. Please tell me not to bother you with these trivial matters. I thought about it and realized that what the prince said made sense, so I didn't write a special letter to say it. There will be more things to do later. When I write to you, I only choose important things to talk about, and forget about this incident. If my second brother and sister hadn't asked about it today, I would have almost forgotten about it. Zhang Ning was a little speechless, but it was understandable. After all, the child's husband had been developing in a good direction. Parents were happy to see the success, so naturally they would not dwell on those old things. I understand. Since the prince helped find the gentleman, have you ever thanked him properly? Zhang Ning asked. Lu Ye breathed a sigh of relief and nodded quickly, yes. Datu specially made a large table of good wine and food to entertain the prince and Mr. Shi, and also gave them the 4 treasures of the study and jade wine, and the little old man. These things are pretty good. While talking, the family had breakfast. Lu Ye started to take care of the house, and Sun Yan took the children to the backyard to watch Ayana and the children making trouble. Jade Bracelet came from under the eaves of the corridor and said, Second young madam, Princess Yongyang and the prince consort are here. Madam wants you and the little flower girl to come over. Sun Yan had no choice but to tell Ayana to rush over immediately. In the front hall, Princess Yongyang complained crazily, Master Marquis, you don't know, the Wei tribe really took advantage of the fact that they sent a fake princess to the capital. Even the Suanwua cauldron is fake. Zhang Ning squirted all the tea in his mouth and his eyes widened in disbelief. Princess said the Suanwua cauldron was fake, the Suanwua cauldron that made the Cheng family tear down the gate to welcome them into the house was fake. That's right. The Cheng family is quite ridiculous. For a fake princess and a fake tripod, it has become a joke in the whole capital. Princess Yanjiang's face was full of ridicule, and she was very relieved. Sun Yuashan coughed twice and reminded, Princess, it's okay. Princess Yongyang pouted and said coquettishly, I don't. You don't know how wronged I have been after that fake princess came to Beijing. First she clamored to marry Prince Ding, which made Princess Ding so angry all day long. With tears streaming down her face, she went to the palace to cry to her mother. King Ding refused to marry, so they turned against me. How had I ever suffered such injustice since I was a child? It was okay not to say it. The more she said it, the angrier she became, so angry that she burst into tears. Sun Yuashan hurriedly tried to persuade her, Princess, don't be angry. Those things are over. No matter what happened, you didn't go to get married. Don't be afraid. Sun Yan happened to see the scene when he walked in. His eyes were confused and he hurriedly saluted, greetings to the princess, mother, and eldest brother. Get up. We are all a family and we are not outside, so there is no need to be polite. Princess Yongyang put away her tears and motioned for Sun Yan to sit down. Then he asked Yang Xiahua to sit down with her. Like a child, her emotions come and go quickly. He suddenly became excited again and told the two of them what happened in the palace this morning. The two people's reactions were similar to Zhang Ning's, and they were both dumbfounded.